Hello, my soul-seeking friends. It's Shanna. Thank you so much for listening to Sense of Soul podcast. Enlightening conversations with like-minded souls from around the world, sharing their journey of finding their light within, turning pain into purpose, and awakening to their true sense of soul. If you like what you hear, show me some love and rate, like, and subscribe. And consider becoming a Sense of Soul Patreon member, where you will get ad-free episodes, monthly circles, and much more. Now go grab your coffee, open your mind, heart, and soul. It's time to awaken. Hey listeners, if you haven't checked your email, you might want to, because I finally did put out a newsletter. And if you'd like to receive it, you can always subscribe on senseofsoulpodcast.com, the Inner Compass newsletter at the bottom of, I think, almost every page. Just wanted to let y'all know about a few upcoming events and share with you what's new for Sense of Soul. One of the events I highly recommend you look into is one coming up for this leap year day. It's going to be a cosmic event. Jennifer Mitchell is going to facilitate a 2-hour quantum leap experience for us for only $29. And if you're a Patreon member, you even get 25% off of that. You cannot beat that. So I suggest you go check that out, either on Sense of Soul's Patreon, or I'll even put the link to register in the show notes. And for today's episode, we have Summer McStravick. She's a longtime leader in personal development and a featured speaker, author, and teacher. Summer was the creator of Hay House Radio, as well as hundreds of Hay House podcasts and webinars. Not only was Louise Hay her boss, but she also co-hosted a weekly radio program with Dr. Wayne Dyer. She got to build programs for people like Susie Orman, Greg Braden, Marianne Williamson, and Jerry and Esther Hicks. But then Summer was faced with many challenges. But that didn't stop her. Summer turned her pain into purpose. She became the founder of the technique called Flowdreaming. It's a practice, a devotion, a modality for healing, and a life-changing manifesting practice. And today has created a life that has flowed exactly as it was meant to. Not only is Summer a master manifester, she's a master creator. She has wrote books, created over 38 courses. She's traveled the world lecturing. She's also the host of Flowdreaming, still kind of woo-woo podcast, and I can't wait to learn more. So please welcome the Flowdreaming mastermind herself, Summer. Hi, Summer.
Hi, Shannon. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Great.
I was just listening to Still Kind of Woo Woo. I love that.
Yes. Oh, thank
Yeah,
you.
good topics too. Reminds me of my purpose with my podcast at the beginning, when my co-host Mandy and I started, we wanted to hit those topics that, we got so many questions about.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've been podcasting for 19 years now, so tells you how old I am. Called it radio.
In one of my last interviews, she does a lot of stage work. And I was like, I would say welcome to my stage, but that's not what Sense of Soul is. I'm like, wait, welcome into my space. Like, you're coming here to have coffee with me.
Yeah.
And just chat about the woo-woo.
I am having coffee with you.
Yay.
So
all right.
There we go.
Oh, I love your cup. What's on your cup? I see a hand.
It's a beautiful hand, a seeing eye.
Yes, I love it. What do I have? Oh, mine says you're doing great.
Oh, I can't read it from here, but it's wonderful.
Yeah. Cheers. No, but thank you so much. I'm super excited to have this conversation, and I also want to learn about your method of flow dreaming. But where are you joining us from?
I'm in sunny San Diego. You could tell the sun's just coming in, lighting up one side of my body here.
Yeah, yep. We're about to get snow. I can tell. I'm in Colorado.
Yeah, I get a lot of people. Well, Colorado's not so bad, but sometimes I'm talking with people on the East Coast, and they're like, "Can you do 9 a.m. East Coast time?" And I'm like, "No, I'm gonna be barely waking up at 6 a.m. Takes me an hour to get my brain firing." So
I think that's the one thing that's great about being in the middle, be the neutral ground when it comes to
Oh,
time.
yeah. Well, it's
Yeah, for sure.
beautiful Colorado.
I have a friend who she's passed away, unfortunately. She was one of my best friends since I was
Oh,
like in middle
sorry.
school. We were super, super like sisters. And
Mm.
she brought me to San Diego because she has family there. And we went to the Whaley House.
Oh, yeah. I know the Whaley House.
Yes.
Everybody knows the Whaley House.
And they had super good tacos across the street.
Yeah, yes, they do.
Oh, whew.
In Old Town San Diego. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all the best Mexican restaurants there. I haven't been to the Whaley House in many years, but I did go to a haunted house when I was visiting my brother in Mississippi last year. I
Oh.
forget the name of it. It was an
Was it a
old,
plantation?
I think so. All I know is that we were there ghost hunting. So we arrived at like 9 or 10 p.m. and
Mhm.
they didn't close down the session till about 3 in the morning. And a small group of us just were, we had all of our equipment, and I mean, it was kind of crazy. It was
Was
like
it the
really
first time
weird.
you had done that?
First time I've done it with equipment and with,
Yeah.
kind of people trying to do like a seance type thing. And um it was really strange because, I didn't want to stick my hand up and be like, I'm the only actual medium here. And I want to tell you something. This place has no ghosts. There are no ghosts here, like literally no ghosts. There were a few hot spots
Yeah.
or places where there was some really, really funky energy, but more like residual energy
Yeah. Yep.
because they shuffle so many people through and
Yeah.
they do this, constantly every
Yeah.
single day. My feeling was that anybody who was hanging around, they were like, way
We're
too
done.
much human energy here, way too much. Like almost like
Yeah.
they had driven all the ghosts out by overdoing it. Yeah.
Of
So it's
course. That
really
makes
weird.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually have, so at my house, I've actually had an investigation done here before. And we got so much, like, because you're looking for intelligence, right? For
Yeah.
something to answer questions or turn a
Hmm.
light on when you ask. And I did not do it at nighttime. So 3 in the morning, no. I was like, daytime, I'll do it. This is all
Yeah.
I agreed to.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got quite a bit. Just feel like in my area, I guess people didn't watch Poltergeist before they built these homes. I mean, literally.
I watched that as a kid.
Me
It's one of the things
too.
that probably made me never want to see a horror film again.
Right.
Uh, because I was like,
I
not for me.
know.
No, don't need to fill my head
Caroline,
with this stuff.
right?
Mm, yeah.
That little
So,
lady. Oh,
Freddy
yeah.
Krueger. Nope,
Oh,
not for me.
Freddy Krueger. One, two, Freddy's coming for you. And then Elm Street, no matter where I'm at,
Yeah.
if I see Elm Street, I'm like, ew.
Yep.
Yeah. But you know
Yeah.
what? My best friend, when they were building her neighborhood, which is not, but maybe 2 miles away, they were finding 1,000-year-old bones of natives.
It's never a good sign. Yeah. I don't know. In my experience, I feel like we're coexisting on all the layers all the time. So
Hmm.
we're the physical
Right.
layer, we are a non-physical layer. We're just, our focus is through the physical, but we're also quite aware through non-physical. So after my grandmother passed, I remember asking her if we could communicate, like, tell me what
Mhm.
it's like out there, like firsthand knowledge, please let me know. And one of the coolest responses that she gave me was, whenever you need to go find somebody who's passed on, it's not like you have to travel. It's not like you're going to heaven or going to another side of the universe. There's no distance involved. She said
Yeah.
it's more like as soon as you bring their vibe, their beingness into you, you're there. There is no distance. That's the main thing. She said, so nobody is ever actually far away. It's just about where you're putting your consciousness at any given moment. Maybe I'm not even describing it right,
No,
but it
you
really
are. Yes.
shifted how I reach people now. I
Yeah.
never feel like, oh, they're so far away. No, it's
Right.
just wherever I'm locating my energy to sync with their energy.
Right.
So it's kind of like a holographic universe idea, I guess.
Well, it's almost
Everything's
like
kind
using a
of
phone.
contained.
I'm gonna tap in right now too. Grandma.
Yeah, exactly.
The girl that I told you had brought me over to San Diego. She
Yeah.
was really my first experience where I was
Mm.
just like, I remember I was sitting outside in the garage smoking, at the time.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, I heard just in my mind, she said like my name, but she said my name in only a way that she would say it.
Yeah.
Like nobody else
Yeah.
says it that way.
Yeah.
And then
Mhm.
I thought, then I had a conversation with myself, like, wait a minute, am I talking to myself or am I, is that
Yeah.
you? And then I
Yeah.
heard a clear, yes, it's me.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then I got kind of like you did, I got some knowledge of, how it was on the other side. And
Mhm.
time was weird. Like I felt like I was in the garage smoking a
Yeah.
cigarette for like 20 hours. But by the
Yes.
time I was done with the conversation, I still had like half of a cigarette left. It was
Yeah.
so odd. But I'm not really one that does that a lot. Do you?
Again, I do a couple things, right? One of them is the intuition and mediumship aspect. The
Mhm.
other is flow dreaming. So
Okay.
when I go into flow state, and I'm typically there for manifesting or just alignment, it's just part of my practice. I have the same sense that I don't know how much time goes by, usually a lot
Yeah.
more than I'm aware of, because again, time like almost ceases to exist. Um, so I've had that experience when I go there, but it's similar. So when I think about flow, I think about almost like a bidirectional force, like currents of energy. There's AC and there's DC, right? There's putting information out
Yeah.
into the world and there's pulling information in from the world. So either
Right.
I'm creating and manifesting by putting information out into the world, or I'm receiving from all the information that's already existed. And we beings are basically little information units of information, right? That we call ourselves and our consciousnesses. So I can lose track in either, no matter which direction I'm moving in, but
Hmm.
there does completely seem to be a sense of entering something that our brains, I really feel like our human brains aren't completely wired to be in this space. It's like a 2D, creature being in a 3D world. It wouldn't,
Yeah.
there's a layer that it's like struggling to interpret. I don't know what this is.
Right.
So our jobs is to figure out like, how do I interpret this space, in this little tiny transistor radio of a brain that I have? And that for me always becomes the trick. And I think that's why there are gaps and it's so difficult to, scientifically define, although they've gotten a lot better at it.
Yeah.
But
Right. And they use big words that I don't understand, but like I know what that.
yeah, I follow a lot of the research. Like, what is it that I'm doing?
Yeah.
As opposed to just being this way.
No,
So
but I love
yeah.
how you think because I think this as you're talking and you're almost looking because you're looking for that other side of the veil. And this is
Uh-huh.
how I think. So
Yeah.
I'm following you completely. And that
Yeah.
flow state, the first time I experienced that was when I was crocheting and quilting.
Mm-hmm.
And where I'm like, holy cow, I've been doing this
Yeah.
for 5 hours. I've
Yes.
not drank. My body is like stuck in this
Yep.
position.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
take that. So that's a really traditional flow state, actually,
Right.
when we become hyper focused, when we're operating at peak efficiency. Now imagine taking that same state and instead of doing a thing, like a physical thing, that becomes your interaction with your higher self or consciousness, or creating or using your emotions. So that's for me, like taking that state to its highest potential, creating that like divine alignment and connection, and being in that kind of communication in that
Yes.
state. Yeah, I,
Intentionally. Whew.
intentionally, as opposed to like most people just fall in accidentally.
Robot.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
like you're crocheting and suddenly like all the time has passed. So I'm like, well, let's make that happen with intention.
So you make yourself conscious of it. That for me, this is how I say that I know that I'm in that is
Yeah.
when everything around me, every corner I turn, there's synchronicity, synchronicity. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Oh my God. I
Yeah.
just thought about
Yeah.
you. I just said that.
Yeah.
I just did
Yeah.
this.
I think of that sometimes like imagine that we all have a flow of being, right? And we started at birth and or pre-birth and we're moving forward. And then we will transition someday and we will continue moving forward, continue collecting information and growing
Yeah.
as beings. So if I imagine that as like threads of light, like I mean, I try to visualize it. Like I said, it's really hard stuffing a lot of this in our little, transistor radio brain. But if we
Sure.
imagine that like we're these little streams of light, and that light carries information, right? Little photons of information. And we all have a natural direction that we've already been like a beam of from a flashlight. Like it's there's a flow to us. And
Mhm.
yours and mine cross right now. Like
Yeah.
we're crossing and we're intertwining our information together. Like you are literally becoming a piece of me right now. I am literally becoming a piece of you. I am now collected inside of your experience, and you will take that
Right.
with you for, I don't know, eternity. It's
Yeah.
kind of mind blowing when you look at it that way. So
Right.
when you
Yeah.
talk about synchronicity, think about all these little threads of light and being and things that kind of have a relation to one another. They would naturally
Mm.
start to, like magnets, right? They'd naturally start to come together in their journey. And that's
Yeah.
where you get those clusters, right? Saying, and we say, what's going on? This is special. And often it is special
Yeah.
because there's something in this cluster that, you've brought in, or you've attracted, or you've
Right.
created. And then we go forward and do our thing, and new synchronicities and new things happen after we take some human action in
Right.
our life. That's a way of looking at it, right?
That is amazing. That's freaking crazy. You just
Yeah.
explained synchronicity better than anybody I have ever talked to.
The work that I do is so strange because when I started, doing my flow dreaming work 20 years ago, I strictly did it just to learn how to manifest. I wanted to push
Mhm.
the universe around, control as much as I could about my life. And that began my journey of completely unraveling that idea.
Yeah.
And instead, this whole framework kind of came together, with like thoughts like that, like, oh, is that how it works? Oh, is that what that
Right.
means? Oh, is
Hmm.
that how that fits in? Oh, is that how astrology fits in? Is that how numerology fits in? Is that how, intuition fits in? Is that how dead people and mediumship fit?
Right.
Instead of being this realm of all these different things, it all kind of works under one umbrella now in the way that I look. Like, when you were talking earlier, to shift a little bit about your friend,
Mhm.
and the first time you heard her, like, and she said your name in only a way,
Yeah.
and you knew. So my term for that is, she knows your energy signature. You know her
Yes.
energy signature.
That's right.
And for me, the energy signature is like, pretend you're dead and you're looking for somebody and you're calling out John Smith, and 100,000 consciousnesses go, I've been called
Right.
John Smith. You would never ever do that. You
Right.
would actually
Yeah.
sort of summon, or let rise up, and summon's got a weird connotation. You would let
Yep.
rise up in you a feeling of that person, and
Mhm.
that feeling right there, that's their signature, that you know them by, that collection of who they are. And we all have that, right? And we're busy creating that every single day. And that's what I mean by, I'm now part of your signature, you're part of my signature. A little bit of, all the tinkering, all the experiences. Go just bring up her feeling.
Well, she must be close by or something. I mean, the San
Mm.
Diego thing, and now we're talking about this, and
Yeah.
some of my
Yeah.
great, my most special memories, of her there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there was this one time we were on that lake or something by there, or maybe part of the ocean.
The
It's like a little
bay.
bay.
Yeah. We've got a beautiful
And
bay
she's
here.
she's doing that one thing. Have you ever seen it? It's like, my mom was chubby, my dad is chubby,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then she's like,
Yeah.
something, she,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I could just picture it so clearly. But we
Yeah.
we laughed a lot. She was one of those friends that you just get together and
Yeah.
laugh with. And that
Yeah.
energy just never dies.
Yes. Laughter, positive emotion, like all the work I do, it really boils down to energy and emotion, bringing the two
Mhm.
together. That's it. And when you bring emotion into energy, you get spectacular things. It's like how you paint your requests into the world, essentially.
Mm.
So I'm like, laugh, have as much positive emotion. For me, laughing and crying are two sides of the same coin. And I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes you cry so hard
Oh
you
yeah.
laugh, or you laugh so hard you cry. And
Or you laugh so hard you piss your pants, which
yeah.
that's the really good
Wait a
ones.
minute. Speak for yourself.
Oh, nowadays I could cough and pee my pants, so we're good. It's
Well,
all
you've had
good.
4 kids. I've
Yeah.
only had two.
But let me ask you, is there a difference when I think about feelings? Like I'm moving into my crone, right?
Yeah.
There's all of a sudden this very distinct difference between feelings and emotions to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me what you think about that. When you say about bringing
Well,
your emotions into energy, that just really hit me.
yeah, it's funny. So I had cancer, breast cancer, like 8 years ago. And the result of that is I had to move into my crone like young,
Earlier.
like I was 43. It's not something, I anticipated. I thought I had a much longer time in the middle ground. But
Right.
suddenly I felt like I was 53. And now that I'm like 52, I feel like I'm 62.
Jeez.
And so I had to grapple with like, oh my God, what is this crone energy? Because for a long time I was like, I'm not there yet. I will when I'm a grandma, when I'm this, when
Right.
I'm that. And I had to go
Hmm.
ahead and start embracing it. And one of the biggest realizations I've had is that my outlook on the things that I want has been shifting a lot. So a big part of my life was, raise my family and, put away for retirement and make a mark on the world and a lot of milestones to get
Yeah.
through. Now it's a question of how do I want to live this next year? What kind of experiences do I want to have? Do I want
Ah,
to travel? Do I want to, I'm thinking a lot more about legacy. For a long time, my work was create, 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 make, teach, teach, teach. And now I'm like,
yeah.
how can I bottle all this up and put it on a shelf for future generations, even for my own kids someday? I'm going to leave this body of work for them. So I'm shifting much more into that
Mhm.
perspective of how do I pass things on? Now, I'm still kind of young to be saying that, but it's definitely entered my field in my mind a lot more. But to go back to like energy and feelings and emotion, yeah, I love emotion because, like I said, my emotions are my constant cues as to what's working for me and what's not working for me.
Mhm.
So if I'm
Yeah.
feeling tired or sad, there's something that I'm being alerted to. Hey, take a little time for your heart right now. You're missing someone. Let that be in you.
Mhm.
If I'm feeling inspired, go in that direction, right? Everything falls in this, again, that polarity, right? The positive, negative. Negative polarity for me is just fine. I mean, I obviously don't want to stay in it, but it's also guiding. I always say it's like
Yes.
the bumpers on if you go bowling, when you have kids and they put the bumpers up so they don't get gutter balls the whole time.
I do that as an adult sometimes.
Oh, sure. The negative emotion are those gutter guides, right? Telling you don't go there, don't stay in that, don't go there. Let's let's
Mhm.
let's put you back in alignment again. So
Yeah.
there's passing feelings that come through just because your hormones are shifting. And yeah, you can stand back and recognize those and go, oh, this is shifting through me right now.
Mm.
But the real depth of emotion for me is how do I want to communicate with my future and my greater self? I'm going to bring up feelings that tell it, literally sculpt it, imprint it with this is who I'm becoming.
You're so wise and you're such a good teacher.
Thank
Yeah.
you. It's called thousands of hours of practice.
I mean, I hear you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. I
Yeah. It's
mean,
not over my head. It's not going, woo, what's that word mean? Hold on a minute. Talk to me like I'm
no.
a kindergartner, which you know what? Wayne Dyer was that way.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was a great teacher in that way. Tell me about how you even came into this work.
Oh my gosh. Okay, talk about synchronicities, right? I grew up in a very woo-woo household. My mom does this work. My grandmother, my great-grandmother, my great-great-grandmother were the
What?
oldest daughter of the oldest daughter of the oldest
You're
daughter, very
kidding.
witchy background. And so my desire was to do anything but be like my family. You know how you are when you're a teenager, right? So I'm
Yes.
like, I'm gonna go into publishing and I'm gonna go to college and I'm gonna be legit and like have a regular life and career. And so of course the first job that I land happens to be for the biggest publisher of mind, body, spirit books in the world.
For Hay
I
House.
even
Yeah.
tried hard not to get the job. It was that I was that resistant. Yeah. They hired me and I said, look, I'd prefer to be a freelancer. Can I give it 2 weeks? And if I hate it, can I go back to freelancing for you? And I can't believe they're like, sure. Life
Wow.
again was just driving me right back into where I belong.
Pulling you in like you
Yeah.
said.
Yeah, like, telling me, hey, you really want to make the biggest difference in the world? It's not going to be in, working with books and other people's, stuff. You can do that and you're good at it. And I did that for a decade, but your real work is what's guiding you and what do you want and need. And I'm like, well, I want to be able to continuously discover things, solve things, communicate things,
Yeah.
creatively explore things. I don't want any bosses telling me what I can or can't do. Remember, after I left, I said to myself, I will never work for somebody else again, ever.
Mm.
And that just sunk in me. And since then, life has completely supported that. So going back to Wayne, he was one, Wayne and Louise Hay and Marianne Williamson, Greg Braden. They were just many of them. Like they're people I work with every single day, putting out all their radio programs,
Oh
putting out
my
their audio books.
God.
Life was saying we're still going to skill you up. And if it takes getting you comfortable and accepting of yourself,
Mm.
then this is how we're going to do it for you. So by the time I was finally done with that experience, I was able to kind of check in and say, I have something to teach. I have something to say that might be, dare I say, on par or eventually, hopefully, on par with some of these luminaries.
Well, when you're hanging
Because,
out with them all the time, I mean, you'd
yeah,
have to be deaf, dumb, or stupid to not get
yeah,
something from these guys.
exactly. That's the
Yeah.
level of education. Like the universe
That,
gave me a Harvard level education in this. And you wouldn't get that if you're not, I would hope, Harvard level. So I've had to like
yeah.
constantly try to live up to Harvard level as a result, but it's a good thing
Yeah.
because life kind of challenged me. Like step in or just completely step out. Don't be
Mm.
hanging in the mediocre middle or the scared
Oh,
middle. So I stepped
that's
in
big.
all the way.
That's big. Because in your intro, you talk about that stuckness,
Yeah.
being stuck. I think everyone's experienced that in their life, at some point, whether you're stuck in a relationship, whatever, you're stuck at the grocery store, can't figure out what you're going to eat for dinner. I mean, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and how we push through that because that mediocre is, oh,
Yeah.
you could stay in that for so long.
Yeah.
So
We
how do you push
do.
yourself through that?
Well, the mediocre, the stuck, the weird middle, there's a bunch of different reasons you can land there.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there
Um,
a purpose for that place? I'm sure there is.
course there is. There's nothing that we do that we have to just run away from aside from
Right.
maybe suffering, right? Suffering is also a
Right.
teacher.
Yes. Yes.
But okay, imagine, so right, we talked about I live in San Diego. So I have the beautiful Pacific Ocean. The waves come into the shore and the waves flow out from the shore. And the waves flow in and the waves throw out. It's like karate, it's like wax on, wax off, Karate Kid. When the waves are coming into the shore, that's the period in our life when there's a lot of robust activity, right? We're just like making stuff and doing
Yeah.
stuff and falling in love and being with friends and building and taking our kids, like all the
Yeah.
activity. But then the activity will wane and it will pull out
Yes.
and you'll be looking at the shore and you're like, there is absolutely nothing here. There is no energy. There's no water. There's no direction. What am I supposed to do? This is where I call like digestion. This is
Mm.
where you walk along the beach and you find all the stuff that all that activity brought for you. All the shells and all the beautiful little pieces of sea
Yeah.
glass in your
That's right.
life. There's like a metaphor, right?
Yeah.
You're supposed to be absorbing, reflecting, and kind of receiving from all that information, digesting it, because that wave is going to come
Yes.
back in again. And sometimes we like really fight it. We feel like, no, I don't want to be here. I don't like this. I prefer to be in the tumult of it, of information and doing this because it keeps me busy and I don't have to think about things. Like if you
Oh,
think, collectively, the whole world, the last couple years was in a pulling out of the waves and the water.
so true. Yes.
Everybody, the entire
Collectively.
world. It's
Collectively.
crazy. The whole world
Right.
was literally forced inside their own
So
homes
insane.
and their
Probably
own
the first time
heads.
ever.
Yeah, for like 2 years. Like
Right.
all of humanity was forced in
Right.
to
Such a
go into
weird
that
thing.
reflection.
Yeah. Yeah.
So stuck is when the wave's coming back in, but maybe you're afraid to kind of move. You're
Mm.
like, I don't know if what's going to happen next is good, or if I should go there, or I'm
Yeah. Like you
afraid.
just let the wave like touch your toes a little bit.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
scared to fully, ride the wave.
yeah. I think too, like the older we get, you and I talked about this, we sometimes get afraid to shift into that next phase. We're looking backwards a little bit
Right.
more often. And
Or we just let our hair go gray and say, fuck it, riding the wave.
yeah. It was funny. Right before this, I was upstairs blow drying my hair, and I was thinking,
Yeah.
boy, I've really let it go. I'm so much darker now, and there's so much gray.
Yeah. I'm
And I was
letting
like,
mine go gray. I only
I
have
like
like
it.
this much left. Why are
Looks
we
nice and rich to me.
why are we afraid of becoming the wise woman? That oh, my grandma's was so just wise and beautiful to me. I
Yeah.
remember pulling her skin up and thinking, why does that stretch so far?
Oh, jeez.
Did you
Oh
do
my
that?
God.
I remember.
No, no. I was not that cruel of a child, Shannon.
Oh no, but I loved it too. No, I was being cruel. I just was like, this is stretchy skin. This is so cool. But it's
Ah,
just,
you
yeah,
know, I think women are, our culture today,
yeah,
and it's really focused on youth, especially for
yeah,
women. That's where most of our value is placed. It's
yeah.
the actress in her 20s, not the Judi Denches of the world that get
True.
all the attention because our culture itself is based on youth. So it
Yeah,
just with women, it happens to be, I think, maybe even more pronounced. So for us to say I'm willing to
true.
shift into being wise, there's a tinge of and therefore invisible,
Yeah.
right? So it's less supported for us to do this. So for us
Okay.
to go, no, I'm, a wise woman now, or the crone, right?
Yeah.
We have to take the extra step emotionally and let
Mm.
ourselves feel like I may not be seen as much, or I may not be taken as seriously. So we have to address that as we go into it. Figure out how do we want to balance this?
Okay, so then I just had a visualization of not
Mm.
so much riding the wave because maybe it might be a flop as you're like 90 years old trying to ride the, but I just thought maybe turning around and just surrendering and just letting it flow and
Yeah.
becoming just part of it and just,
Yeah.
yeah, letting go.
Just, yeah. I mean, like the work that I do, part of it is, remember how I said, like, I used to want to try to control everything. That's why a lot of people get into manifesting. I want the house. I want the
Yeah.
money. I want the partner. I want.
Yeah.
Now I recognize it's more like I can guide. Like I was saying, the captain on the ship. I'm steering the wheel. I'm saying, okay, life, I really want to enjoy these experiences and I want to enjoy these emotions from it. Like I
Yeah.
want to love being a mom. I want to love feeling safe and secure in my marriage, in my home, in my work. These feelings. That's really what I want to feel. But I'm just guiding. The ship itself is floating on the vast, vast ocean.
Mm.
The ocean is all of life, all that is. I can't force that ship forward no matter how I try, but I can decide if I want to go a little more this way or a little more that way. So that's my position with the universe. So the way that I kind of relate to it, the ocean will take me if I have to, not have to, but if I release into it, if I let go into it, sometimes it will take me places I didn't really want. There might be a storm, a storm a
Mm.
coming, but then I can still guide my way through that storm.
Yeah.
So I get releasing is as much a part of my life now as directing in
Mm.
equal measure, like totally, at least I strive for it, I have to say. Not perfect, but that's what I strive for. And I try to notice, am I doing a little more of one or a little less of another right now? Which one do I need to be doing?
Right.
Or which one am I out of balance with it? Like sometimes I encounter people who are so burned out, so stressed out. They've been
Mm.
striving, pushing, grinding, trying to make
Been
something.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you're way, pushing
Doing
hard. You're not
most.
letting go. You're not just allowing the pieces to come together.
Yeah.
You need to back off from all that action. And
Yeah.
you need to let that other aspect come in.
Right. You're
Yeah.
standing there and it's trying to get to you, but you're just so busy going this way and that way, it can't even find you.
Yes. Yeah. Or I'll say, hey, when I'm creating with the universe, it's like a relationship. And sometimes we want to tell our partner, You pick me up at 7. We're going to this restaurant. Here's what you're going to wear. This is how clean the car should be. This is what you're going to order. This is what time we're going to end. This is who pays the bill. This is how you take me home. This is how you say goodnight. And our universe is the
Right.
partner looking at us going, I'm never taking you out again. You didn't even give me a job. You're just totally ignoring me. You have absolutely no trust that I can do my part of things. And I'm like, ooh, have I been doing that with the universe lately? And so I back off and go, all right, you pick. You will go wherever you feel like. Just let's make it have a good time. And the universe can then stand in and step up and say,
Right.
that's my girl. Let's go.
That
So
is so
I
smart.
remind myself, like, oh, am I starting to try to over control? Nope. Pull
So
back.
much, it sounds like so much self-inquiry and also self-awareness, really truly
Yeah.
being the witness of what's going on in your life and then
Yeah.
choosing to direct it into a place of flow, which in a flow, there is no resistance. I mean, so
Yeah.
it's flow dreaming.
Yes. Yes.
You can't,
Yeah. So
yeah.
So to clarify, flow dreaming is a technique. It's
Hmm.
also a philosophy. And we've been talking a lot about the
It's
philosophy of
amazing.
it here, but
Right.
the
There's
technique
a,
literally get into this state of no resistance. And I call it ease and flow. And again, polarity. There's pure resistance and there's pure flow.
uh-huh.
And instead of just randomly letting ourselves just be, bumped around, I'm like, I want to tell the universe, I want to be in a state of pure flow
Hmm.
because that's going to be my most natural state of being, of growth, of expansion, everything. And I want to stay away from resistance, the gutter guides as much as I can, but I'm still going to get myself into, hot water and trouble and get some of that resistance in my life. That's other people, frankly.
Right.
Most things that happen to us that
Is
we
it,
don't
yeah.
like involve other people bringing their stuff to us.
Because you hear
So,
sometimes people saying, well, resistance is good, it'll strengthen you. Yeah, it will.
yeah.
For you to learn best to not go that way next time. So
Mm-hmm.
you're not living in the resistance. It's only a teacher. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, but here's another weird thing that I think happens a lot in personal growth. We tend to think resistance is the only teacher over and over, and we're like, oh, I'm just getting so much,
Oh,
And I'm like, yeah,
yes.
and because but I'm learning so much from it. I'm like,
Right.
hey, have you ever tried learning from being successful?
Yeah, right. Instead of
Have you
chaos.
have you
Yes.
yeah, have you had the experience of having enough money, of feeling blessed and grateful? You want it, but have you actually created that yet for
Right.
yourself? It's weird how many of us haven't because
Okay.
we get stuck and the resistance teaches us everything. But when you finally are in a state of receiving, it's like a new teaching. Yeah, people who want to be successful and they're always struggling,
Yeah.
it's like, well, your next obvious lesson to learn isn't how to conquer more resistance because you've done that one a million times, like repeating first grade over and over again. You've done it. You've done it. You know how to do
Mm.
that. You're just staying with something you've already figured out how to do. Why not do something you haven't done? Like, can
Yeah.
you be in a state of crazy success? Have you done that? They're like, no. I'm like, great. That's your next job. Go be that. It's easier said than done, right? But
Yeah. Summer,
we have to start.
you're super smart, girl. You've been hanging out with all those people and getting super smart. Oh
Well,
my
I
God,
don't
that's
know.
seriously wise. Because the thing is that you hear people you could just start over. It's not just starting over, that going a different way. Like don't go
Uh,
down that same path when you start over because
yeah.
that path didn't work, right? So you have to
Yeah,
shift a little bit and do different.
exactly. And I think we often dread doing different things because
Hmm.
once we've figured out something, like we've mastered it, and we all like that feeling of being competent and capable and knowing it. Even if the thing that we know is dreadful and misery and I lost the job again, and here we are tight on money again, we know it. We've done it over and over. So to
Yeah.
let go of that thing, even if it's a crappy thing,
Mm.
and to go into something you completely don't know makes more of us like nervous than we would ever care to admit or
Yeah.
realize. It's like
Okay.
the Buddhists call it child mind. Go into child mind, meaning you don't know anything.
I know.
You're blank. You have to start and learn something right now. In fact, that reminds me of something Wayne Dyer used to say, paraphrasing it, right? Just coming from memory here. Hi, Wayne. Every experience you go into, even if it's something you've done before, and you're like, I know this, I know all this. Look for something that you don't know in it. Don't be so up in your own britches that you think you already know. And thereby you're telling the universe, F you, why did you bring me this? I already know this. That's kind of how we end up in those stuck positions. So if I'm talking with somebody and I'm like, I know everything you're already saying, I go, wait,
No.
pull back. You probably don't. Hear it differently, be different in it. I don't know, but it's here for a reason. We hear some of the same things over and over, right? And we tend to
Yeah.
think, oh, I know that already. Maybe not, because here it
Mm.
is again, and it's not by accident.
Right. Sometimes you hear the same things over and over, but yet you
Yeah.
never heard it really. And then,
Yeah.
like today, listening to you, I really needed to hear this today. And I know that many people who are listening needed to hear this.
Yeah.
So thank you.
You're welcome. I hope I just gave you like lots of things to think about in different ways. I'm a big fan of shower thoughts, you know. So tonight you're in the shower and you're like, God, she said that thing about flow being all these interweavings of light and information. And oh my God, now Summer's a piece of me for eternity. Like I
Yeah.
hope like a thought comes up that you need,
It'll be
because
more
like
in the
even
bath, but yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like even that thought for me, it makes me really careful. Like I said, I don't watch Poltergeist or things like that now, because
Mm.
that becomes part of me forever. And I'm much choosier about the things I allow in. And being choosier basically means boundaries for me become a lot easier, because I'm like, you're not going to be part of me. No, stop
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
it. So anything that sparks that kind of inquiry, I think is, I don't know.
Your book. When did you write that book? Was it a long time ago?
Well, I have two books. So the
Okay.
latest one is Stuff Nobody Taught You.
Okay.
And I wrote that during the pandemic.
Okay.
Um,
And you had the
and so,
space.
yeah, I finally had
Yeah.
big chunks of empty time. I call
Mm.
it slow time.
I
I
need
have a
that,
lot
but
of
I don't want a
words.
pandemic, but I need that.
I know. No, please don't. But yeah, so I wrote it there, and I realized when I suddenly had time to reflect a lot more, the ocean had pulled
Yeah.
out and I was able to sift through all the stuff I had collected over. I realized I
Hmm.
hadn't written a book in 11 years. And I said, I have 11 years worth of information to stick in here. Wow, let's get it
Wow.
down. And then my other book, Flowdreaming, came
Mhm.
out with Hay House. Oh boy, was it 2005? And then I have another book too I never talk about. It's called Creative Flow Dreaming. I'm
The
so
child
public
I
with
never
that.
talk about. Yeah.
The
Okay.
child I never talk about. Yeah. Shh. It's always the one in the middle too, right?
Oh, it's so true.
So yeah.
So wait,
Yeah.
what is that book?
It's called Creative Flow Dreaming. Flow Dreaming is teaching people the technique of
Hmm.
moving into the space and communicating with the universe and so forth. It's a really tiny book. It's a fast read. Creative Flow Dreaming is where I start to unpack some philosophy around it. Like, wow, these are the things I've discovered doing this technique. Here's all the ways you
Okay.
can look at the world, like big picture stuff. Like, what is God? What is source? Like, how do
Mm.
things come together? And that's
Yeah.
kind of like we've talked a little about that. And then Stuff Nobody Taught You for me is it's 10 years of teaching. I had a program called Me School. I wrapped up its 10th season this
Hmm.
year. And
Wow.
I took all the teachings from that school. In fact, there's like 200 worksheets and everything that come with this book. And I put it in the book and I said, this is your manual for reinvention and releasing yourself from wherever you are snagged or stuck in your life.
There you
This is
go.
everything you need to know. Here is the walk to walk. You know,
Mm.
do this process and you will move to the next stage of yourself.
I think Gen
So
Z needs that. You know why I think
yeah.
Gen Z needs that? Because we are so late. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we're
Mm-hmm.
late. And so they need that guidance a little bit
Yeah.
to, redefine themselves and create the world that they are meant to be
Yeah.
in and have.
Yeah. It's really for any age, to
Yeah.
be honest, because well, you never know when you're going to hit that little bump of
Yeah.
reinvention in your life.
I'm late.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, sometimes you start out with like, okay, now who am I going to become? Right?
Right.
Where am I going next? Right there is your first invention,
Yeah.
right? Like Gen Z. And then maybe you're 28 and you lose that job and you're like, oh my God, I do not want to stay in this industry anymore.
There's so many people right now with that.
You
Yes.
You have a new invention right there. And then you have kids and you're like, I'm a parent. Here comes another reinvention. So
Yeah.
these reinventions are continuous, and
Yeah.
it's about learning how to embrace them
Yeah.
and guide them, as opposed to just get flattened by them and just see how you bob up from, being smashed by the wave, which is what many of us feel like when we're going through reinventions.
I love the name of your new book, the stuff they didn't.
Stuff nobody taught you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I feel like that's been like everything that I knew.
Weirdly, there's not another book on Amazon with that name. Usually books
Perfect.
there's like 15 of them with the same name. There's so many books in the world. So I
Right.
saw that and I went, well, I've got stuff nobody ever taught you, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Talk about, it's full personal growth,
Uh,
but it's kind of named to make you think, did you just secretly and sneakily get me into personal growth? I'm like, yes, I did.
you've been such a blessing. Tell everybody where they can find you and listen to you all the time because I know I'll be listening to you all the time on your podcast.
Well, thank you. I have like 700 and something, 600, 700 episodes up right now. So,
Wow.
yes, find Flowdreaming still kind of woo-woo, wherever you listen to your podcast. Like I said, it is a journey that, you can listen to me literally over 19 seasons. So you can watch me grow up as my thinking changes year by
Yes.
year and my teachings expand. My website is flowdreaming.com, and I have a couple of free flow dreams people can download and start to actually learn the technique and experience it totally free. Don't expect them to be
Nice.
meditations. They are not. They are
Okay.
emotional, they're energy activations. They're to get
Ooh.
you into flow space. But they're pretty cool. And I have an app. So pull up your phone, look for the Flow Dreaming app, and that will also teach you how to
Okay.
do it. Like those are the best places to start.
And then your books,
Yeah.
of course, and I'll put all
My
this in the show notes
books.
for everybody. I appreciate you. So I hope that we keep in touch. I think you're wonderful and I really align with you.
Well, thank you. I like you too. And I don't
Sure.
I don't say that lightly. In fact, I believe very strongly that if you like somebody, tell them. If you love them, tell them. Those are words we use. We're far too stingy with words like that with
Yes, I
people
agree. I totally agree.
because
If I'm ever in
so
San Diego, let's go to the Whaley House.
I'm willing. I want to know, is there a haunted house that actually still has haunts in it?
Oh, mine
The only
might.
haunted houses you might, yeah. Honestly, the only places where I've really felt energies like
Yeah.
that have been regular people's homes because they don't have the foot traffic,
Yeah, they're not
so
having
it's,
seances every night.
yeah, yeah,
Right, exactly.
yeah.
And thank you so much. It was so nice to meet you.
Hugs and kisses. Thank you.
Okay. All right, bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Thanks for listening to Sense of Soul podcast. And thanks to our special guests for joining me. If you want more of Sense of Soul, check out my website at www.mysenseofsoul.com, where you can work with me one-on-one or help support Sense of Soul podcast by donating to my coffee fund. Thanks for listening.